I still remember the day when I was an intern at an advertising agency. After watching all 7 seasons of Mad Men and numerous Bond films, I fully embraced their classic dressing style and actually suited up most of the time. Then one day I had to accompany my supervisor to meet with clients. I was wearing a dark navy suit, a light blue dress shirt, and a navy silk tie, just like Colonel Bond in From Russia with Love. Now, picture a meeting room full of senior executives from both the advertising firm and the client side. As I walk in as an intern, and there's one of, some kind of executives from the client side just greeting me with, "Good evening, sir." It was quite awkward, because to accepting a greetings gesture from a client who was clearly senior to me, but yeah, what I did was just greeting him back and took a seat next to my supervisor, and that's it. Later, that executive approached my supervisor and asked her, "Who is that guy in the suit that I just greeted him with?" It became even more awkward when he found out that I was just an intern. And looking back, I realized that I shouldn't have worn that From Russia with Love ensemble, as it was out of place in terms of corporate procedure and hierarchy. But I'm grateful for that experience anyway, because it's the day that just changed my life forever. Before I was exposed to the Bond franchise, Mad Men, and Hollywood Golden Age films, I was really suffering from an existential crisis in my 20s. The problem is I want to stand out and be unique without coming across as trying too hard or being pretentious. I started lifting weights in high school like many young men in 2010s. I worked on enhancing my social skills during college, both in professional and personal settings. And I exposed myself to great educational resources such as books and podcasts from exceptional individuals. All of these efforts were aimed at shaping a distinct identity and finding my place in the modern world. Yet I felt like I still end up like anyone else. But then, in September 2021, a month before the release of No Time to Die, the latest Bond film, I decided to dive deep into the franchise for the first time. And it's quite funny because I had ignored Bond films my whole life, thinking that they were no different from Tom Cruise Mission Impossible or Matt Damon Jason Bond. But thanks to marketing campaigns which really hyped me up even though I wasn't a Bond fan at the time. So I decided to start watching this 6-decade franchise from the beginning in 1962.
Splendid. My number's on the card.
To this day, Sean Connery is still my favorite Bond and my role model when it comes to the idea of a classic gentleman. What's really interesting about Connery's Bond era is the sense of elegance that seems so alluring, yet out of touch with our modern society. The way this gentleman dressed, talked, and behaved was nothing but inspiring. No matter how uncomfortable or casual the context is, he is always looked his best. And gentlemen, that's when I realized the solution to my problem. I just said to myself that if I could tap into even a quarter of his elegance in this already casual society, I would inevitably stand out. Because for too long, Silicon Valley tycoons have convinced me and the whole world that, oh, but only substance is matter. Let go of the superficial stuff like style. You can dress however you want as long as you are successful. Just like Mr. Jobs' Issey Miyake crewneck or Mr. Zuckerberg Brunello Cucinelli t-shirt, which is quite contradictory to the idea. But anyway, fast forward to now, and I must say, my assumption about being elegant and standing out has already been justified, while the modern world might seem to be going downhill in terms of style and sophistication. When you dress up to your standard, you will find that people still yearn for elegance, but they just don't know it yet. And gentlemen, before we go further, let me ask you these questions. Have you ever seen someone dress very simply yet exuding sophisticated sense? Have you ever experienced the effortless charm of someone who acts with manners and class? And have you ever known someone who makes you feel completely comfortable every time you talk to them? That's elegant for you. And I will say it again that the world still yearns for it. People today are too casual, whether it's for themselves or others. They don't seem to care about how they dress, talk, and behave. And they often argue that, oh, but the true essence of a person is inside, not outside. Gentlemen, if you hold this belief, which I doubt if you are watching this far, try to do some experiment. The next time you're going to upscale place, try to wearing a wrinkled shirt and shorts with sandals and see the reaction of staff and chef. which they'll certainly give you some kind of vague gaze. But just told them that, oh, excuse me, the true essence of a person is inside, not outside. The thing is, elegance is the art of effortlessly standing out with no desire to stand out in the first place. Quite confusing, but hear me out. It's a sense of comfort with being the best version of oneself, both internally and externally. For instance, let's revisit James Bond. This time, I'd like to introduce you to Roger Moore, the most elegant Bond in franchise history. What sets him apart from other actors and characters goes beyond his dressing style, because others also wear high-quality menswear in a classic manners like him. But the way this gentleman responds to intense situations with calm, the way he treats others with manner and respect, and the way he pays attention to his clothes from suits to ties, there's no doubt why he effortlessly stands out from the crowd even in an era where people still dress up regularly. What I want to convey here, gentlemen, is that you too can embrace the concept of elegance, even if you are a man. So many people often associate it with women and femininity, but elegance is a universal and timeless virtue. It allowed me to overcome existential crisis and many of my internal desires and problems. And you may have wondered, what is the easiest way to tap into the sense of elegance? My answer is, change the way you dress. Even before I was fully immersed in the world of classic menswear, I had been dressing in a similar manner for a long time. When I was around 15, my signature look was a white dress shirt, dark jeans, and clean white sneakers. While this contradicted what people my age wore in 2010s, because that age was the beginning of the streetwear era. But it was my first encounter with the element of simplicity, a crucial part of classic style. Now, fast forward a decade, and I have fully embraced and evolved my personal aesthetic. I now effortlessly wear this blazer, this necktie, dress shirt, and leather footwear without any problem. Yet, you may have heard many arguments about this topic that, oh, but only insecure people are focused on dressing, or it's a superficial pursuit since many successful people who live happily don't seem to bother about how they're dressed. Gentlemen, let's tackle each argument one by one. First, let's start with this. Only insecure people are focused on dressing. Actually, this one is quite interesting because it's wholesome truth, at least in my case. While insecurity was indeed the main reason I started to dress in a classic style, but if the purpose of clothing is to protect our skin and hide the improper parts of our body, then we all use it to erase insecurity, don't we? The thing is, it's not just about insecurity, it's about human nature. We all want to be perceived as important, respected, and garner attention from others, no matter how shallow or unvirtuous it might sound, and that's why appearance always matters. So do the clothes you wear. Next one. It's a superficial pursuit, since many successful people don't seem to care about it. Well, maybe they can afford to ignore it. But what about the 99% of people, including me and likely you, who are not as globally recognized as Silicon Valley tycoons? Imagine going for a business talk or an interview in an upscale place. Could you effort not to look and present your best to the prospect? And even those casual take tycoons who don't seem to bother with how they're dressed, when they go to a serious high-stake places like court, they leave the t-shirts and shorts in their wardrobe and revert to classic menswear. So gentlemen, I hope these rationales are convincing enough to address the typical arguments raised by those who worship casual attire when it's come to the style and dressing. And if they aren't, that's totally fine. In an overly casual world, there won't be a better chance for you to set yourself apart from the crowd. Elegance is a virtue that the world still craves, and dressing is the easiest way to tap into it. The next thing to discuss is what kind of style to adopt. Of course, you might have guessed it as the classic style. But what is a classic style anyway? There are many myths in public perception about this style, from wearing a suit every day to being overly formal for modern contexts. And those ideas couldn't be further from the truth. While the myth and perception of wearing suits regularly were true in the early to mid-20th century, the term classic style is broader than that. A timeless design garment with high-quality craftsmanship made from natural materials. These are my personal criteria when it comes to determining whether a garment is classic or not. This means it isn't limited to just a suit or a jacket to classify the style as classic. For instance, even casual shirts like OCBDs, the Oxford close button down, or polos paired with tailored trousers made from cotton, linen, or wool can easily be considered a classic ensemble. Now, I understand the problems we are currently facing in the 2020s from low-quality garments made from synthetic materials flooding the market, to the societal expectation of, oh, but where are you going? Question whenever you want to dress up or whenever you put on a jacket or suit. And that's why it's so hard to break out from the societal norm and embrace the beauty of classic style while still being relevant to the modern context. But with the right mindset, knowledge, and a desire to dress up for yourself, there are always solutions. And here are the exact steps I took to transform myself into a man who fully embraced classic style and effortlessly dress up on a daily basis. First, it all starts with aspiration. We all have role models when it comes to style icons. Back when I started, it was obviously James Bond. Because there's a reason why this fictional character has stayed as an icon of masculinity for 6 decades. He's a symbol of authority, attraction, charisma, and competency. But while those traits are tempting, they are not concrete as his style. Of course, I wanted to do awesome things like Bond did, from flying airplanes to being a cultural connoisseur. But the easiest way to tap into that essence, to start living that aspiration, is to dress like him. And gentlemen, there's nothing wrong with stealing or copying the look from someone else, especially when you first start. Since you resonate with them, there's a high chance that their style will work for your preferences. But here's some advice from someone who has already gone through this journey for a while. When you look at your Aspire style, try to go beyond the look. Try to break them down. Break down the ensemble into garments and explore the essence of each piece. What materials are they made of? What kind of construction and design does the garment have? How does the pattern harmonize each garment to complement the others? Of course, gentlemen, it will be overwhelming, I guarantee it. But as time goes on, when you deeply involve yourself with the sartorial world, your knowledge will inevitably increase. I put that way. And you will effortlessly dress in this style with confidence. But only if you are ready to embrace being an outlier. Think of this as a reverse rebellion act similar to the counterculture of 1960 to 1970s. Back in those days when suits and ties were the norm, there was a rising rebellious movement when casualness gradually changed traditional style. And 6 decades later, it's still the same. But this time, casualness is the one being challenged. And gentlemen, this goes beyond just a suit and tie. Although it was great to see a movement to revive these garments back into the modern world. But overall, in the big picture, it's the voice of elegance in the middle of an inelegant society. And the harsh truth you have to embrace is that you end up be an outlier when you dress up in a classic style. Because your garments are high qualities. Because your ensemble is aesthetically put together, and because your projection to the world is full of grace and elegance, of course you will stand out and get attention, a lot of attention from the crowd. At first, it won't be easy. Everywhere you go, everyone you meet, they will likely ask, "Excuse me, where are you going?" And yes, gentlemen, even after dressing like this, for me, in my case, for several years, my friends and my close friends are still ask those sort of things. But there's two things that help me navigate this awkward situation, which are sartorial knowledge and conviction to the aspiration. With enough information and ideas within the sartorial world, from the fabric of garments to the formal and casual scale, you'll be able to dress up everywhere you go in classic style, appropriate and relevant to the context. With the conviction to the aspirations of an ideal individual, you'll be sure that this is the right way to express and project yourself into the world, since you associate with the substance behind that aspired image. As I said, gentlemen, it won't be easy. The only way to overcome this is to start in the first place. So, allow me to introduce you the tools that I would like to call it the MVG concept, or minimum viable garments. You may have heard of MVP, or minimum viable product, in the business world. But here, in the land of classic style, we have the MVG. When I started this journey, I was still a college student. So I didn't have much financial means to invest in clothes, especially the high quality clothes that align with the aesthetic of classic style. Fortunately, my wardrobe already contains several white dress shirts and trousers, so all I need is to change my footwear from sneakers to leather ones, and I chose a dark brown hospital loafers. That one garment only changed the overall aesthetic. The easiest way to shift and lean your style toward classic is to look at your current wardrobe and answer this question. What will be the single garment that allows me to get closer to my ideal classic style? And here's the interesting part, gentlemen. You can use that question every time you want to expand your wardrobe. When you first start, footwear and trousers are likely to be your initial investment. From sneakers, try to opt for leather shoes, and from low-waisted skinny trousers, try to open your heart and your soul to high-waisted classic fitted one. It's just life-changing, I promise. But it's quite sad that there are so many aspects of classic garments that I can't cover in this video, so I'll put them into another whole topic in the future. And about the concern of price, I believe that nowadays there are many options for all budget ranges, depending on how much you're willing to spend on each garment. But gentlemen, I apologize for not going further with this since I don't know where you live. But for example, in Bangkok, Thailand, where I live, great quality leather shoes start around $200, and tailored high-waisted wool trousers, and I mean pure wool trousers, are around $100, which is quite affordable in my opinion, even for local salaries here. But if you are familiar with the modern ready-to-wear market that requires little expense to get a single garment, you might need a little adjustment for higher priced garments and some downtime for commissioning tailored pieces. But over time, as you acquire them piece by piece, you'll get a sophisticated wardrobe that allows you to elegantly put them on and feel like a different person. And this leads us to the final step, to dressing in classic style as satisfyingly as possible, which is being ready to evolve and pivot. If there's one mistake I made in my journey, is that I clinging to James Bond for too long. I thought my dark navy suit was cool for every place and time, so I used to wear it a lot, from hanging out with friends to watching films at the local theater. The problem is that I limited myself from exploring my personal style. It's true that when you first start, you are likely inspired by your favorite style icons and end up dressing like them. But over time, you should consider exploring beyond your comfort zone. Yes, gentlemen, even in the world of sartorial and classic menswear, there's still a term comfort zone. For example, if you're already comfortable with leather shoes and classic trousers, maybe it's time to consider a sport jacket or blazer to level up your game. And this kind of exploration is where the fun begins, because you will learn and explore the beauty of mixing and trying new garments. Over time, your personal style will gradually shape. What seemed to work at the start might not be your preference now, or certain garments you swore not to wear. For me, it was seersucker fabric that I just can't accept the texture, the wave textures of the fabric. But yeah, I mean, I consider to commission a jacket now. All of this might reveal new aspects you appreciate. It's a lifelong journey with no ending point. In my case, with just 3 years of personal experience, I am aware that there are many things in the sartorial world I know nothing about. Yet it has tremendously changed my life. From that awkward young man who couldn't find his place in society to someone who finally feels like he has meaning and feels his best every time when he put on his classic ensemble. And gentlemen, that's why I decided to start this channel. If this world needs elegant more than ever, if it's yearning for a virtue that has been long lost for decades, then I hope my ideas and journey can help bring it back in the 21st century. So, for all of you who have stuck with me till this minute, thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you have a great day and see you in the next video.